Welcome to The Last Beer Show, Episode 3. For this one, we recorded our first live show, because really, why not make things more complex? So apologies for the background noise. We talk a lot about bottle share events in this one, and as usual, there's discussion around seasonal ales. Be sure to stick around for the after party on this one, and I'll pop back in at the end with a small announcement. I love the deep thoughts. So we're
Do you know what I'm
at.
talking about? You disagree with it?
No, not at all.
There's an argument going on.
It's like you're having a conversation and you're looking at me. I don't know why you're looking at me.
We weren't
Because
looking at you.
I mean,
Or he looked at you. He was looking for your approval.
looking at you.
All right, so we probably
Because I
need to
love you,
divulge.
Sean.
So we
I love
are
you.
live at the closing ceremonies of a bottle share event at Jason's house,
Yes, absolutely.
and I'm recording now. So you should know I hit the red button.
Yeah, I love the red button. It's my favorite button of all.
Ever
We are probably
of all buttons.
we're probably 30 beers in at this point.
ish.
Yeah, 30-ish beers at this
Put
point.
myself at 29, but
I started earlier than you did.
you did.
And you also missed the ginger beer, which was up here before, which is hypothetically a beer. But yeah,
Hypothetically,
we're 20 to 30
is that a
beers
winter
in.
festive?
It is not a winter festive. It is a year-long festive.
Ginger
It's
beer?
Festivus for the rest of us.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on that. But so, tell me, Jason, a little bit about what you have had in the last few weeks since we recorded.
So the last couple weeks, I've actually kind of hunkered down here in Casa Domini and hadn't really spent a lot of time out because of both the weather and the holidays. And
Holidays, travel.
it
you
was a lot of travel and
got
stuff.
weather.
I did. But I was able to, my in-laws live on the coast of South Carolina, which is not very far from Westbrook's Brewery in Mount Pleasant. And so I was able to make a trip up to Mount Pleasant
Very nice.
and visit the brewery up there. They were releasing their 6th anniversary beer, which is a hazelnut stout of sorts. And they had a long kind of selection of cool beers that they were launching that day. And so I had some really good beers from Westbrook. Westbrook always puts out a consistently good stout product, and so I'm always really glad to go by there. And then also, I was able to pick up some really good Rodenbachs here recently that have kind of sprung up around town. Alexander hit again, which is always one of my perennial favorite beers. If you've never had Rodenbach's Alexander, it's a sweet cherry, tart cherry goodness. And then I picked up a bottle of their Character Rouge 2013 bottle, which is raspberries and cherries and strawberries. It's phenomenal beer. If you ever get a chance to drink these Rodenbach, either the Alexander or the Character Rouge, don't miss these beers. If you see them on a shelf, they've got white labels with red ribbons on them. Don't pass these beers up. It's real easy to find these beers on shelves occasionally, and you might look
In like a
past
bottle
them.
shop, though, not like a grocery store.
Yeah, exactly. Not a grocery store, but at a bottle shop and miss it because it's on the shelf.
Right.
But I'm telling you, don't pass up these beers. And then the other, one of the other cool beers that I've been able to partake of recently is the Brewery Tarot Tart of Darkness, which is from their new Reserve Society collection, which is tart, cherry, and vanilla.
It's amazing. You can't see, but my eyes are like rolling back in my head.
It's a
You can see
perfectly
it
balanced sour beer with a little bit of vanilla. That's a great beer that I've had recently. And then, honestly, I've been drinking a lot of stouts. I mean, I'm pretty
winter.
stout heavy right here in the collection.
Tis the season.
Tis the season. So I've got a lot of stouts. I'll tell you that another really good beer that I had recently was the Imperial Biscotti Mexican Cake Break.
Oh, yeah.
From Evil Twin in Westbrook. That's a beer that you can find in distribution around the South right now.
You can find it everywhere right now, yeah.
Yeah, highly recommend that beer as well. What about you?
I've consumed quite a few, to be honest with you. Let me just touch on a few high points. The locally, I don't know if everybody listening is going to be able to get it, all 5 of you outside of Georgia. The Eau de Mercy Nitrode That coffee brown is really, really good.
Yep, that's from Wild Heaven.
Wild Heaven Brewery.
Yep.
Yep. And then Clown Shoes Pecan Pie Porter, which tasted a lot less like pie than you might fear. It was actually really, really good. Bourbon Barrels from Three Taverns. They got this Feast Noel. It was extremely rich. Like you would not want to just have a whole bottle of it, but it's great for sharing. And that was a really good beer. That's something that comes out every year, and it's something that is actually very different every year.
Yep.
It's just one of those. It's not like, say, the Sweetwater Festive or some of the other more popular Southern Winterfest beers that are the same every year, and you look forward to it every year, and they're always great. But that one is one that they really tweak every single year, so it really makes you want to like seek it out and see how it's changed, which I think is a fairly fresh take on that type of thing. Yeah, that's kind of where I was. So it seems like we've had a lot of stouts and porters and dark beers because, like we said, it is winter and it is the season, right? So, Jason, why don't you tell me a little bit about what makes some of these seasonal beers? Like we see the festive ales. There's no like single name for that category, but there is like a winter warmer category.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking at the Magnificent Multitude of Beer poster, which I have. It's this huge poster on the wall, and I'm kind of cheating, but there's actually a winter warmer category on the actual diagram itself, which includes St. Peter's Winter Ale, Sweetwater's Festive Ale, Elysian's a Bifrost, Widmer Brothers Burr, Pyramid Snowcap, and that includes beers like Sierra Nevada Celebration.
Even Last Snow.
Last Snow to a degree. Last Snow comes out around Thanksgiving.
It's got some cinnamon and nug mix.
Yeah, it's a coffee, cacao, coconut, really really good beer that comes out again around Thanksgiving. But when I think of like this whole category of winter warmers, I just think of spiced beers in general that are spiced with like cinnamon and clove and allspice and some of these spices that you think of when you think of things that you drink around Christmas time, like wassail tea and things like that. And so historically, those beers were English style old ales to barley wines, and then that moved into like stouts and porters, which were spiced as well. So that whole category for me is interesting because, again, as it gets colder, we start to look for those more like comfort foody kind of beers to drink and just sip on and relax. And man, I can't get enough of them around this time of the year. And then come spring, I'm done with them. I'm tired and I'm ready to move on to like Hefeweizens and wheat beers.
Yeah, some of the spring sessions and
IPAs,
stuff like that.
yeah.
IPAs. You start getting a little more hoppy, and that'll be our next episode. Because come February, we'll be like, I'm so done with all these cinnamon and nutmeg and coconut and
exactly
spicy.
Yep, ready to do
spicy
some
beers.
fresh IPAs and stuff.
Because then all of a sudden you're like, because a lot of these beers taste sweet, dark, a little dank, a little celery, right? And then you get in, once you've been drinking them for a couple of months, spring starts coming around, the weather starts warming up a little bit. Unless you're up north in February, you got to wait another month. But for us, it starts warming up. You're like, geez, get me these Heffies, give me these Saisons, give me these IPAs, especially some of the ones that are like spring specific and kind of like dropped as seasonals, like say Hop Slam, which I know is about to drop.
Yep.
And there are others. I can't think of them off the top of my head right now, but no, cool. So we've actually been at an event at your house all day, a bottle share. Such a cool party. First of all, thanks for hosting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm looking at some of the bottles that we have, and I have a video. Maybe I'll put it on Instagram if it's short enough.
We can put it on our Facebook page as well.
Maybe Facebook.
Yep.
And put it up and just show some of the bottles that we. It's fun because you just take a few. From an ounce or two, like a shot or so of each one of, say, 10 or 15 different bottles. So you're not even really drinking that much. It turns out to be about like 2 pints. So nobody gets like all lit up, but it's really fun to be able to share a lot of flavors. Some of these beers are 3 or 4 years old.
Yep.
So you've been hosting these events for a while. Tell me a little bit about what brings it about, what makes these things kind of special, because I've been to a few and they're really fantastic. It's the people, it's the drinks, it's the sides, it's the talking beer. And it gets pretty deep.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's like it's kind of the catalyst of craft beer in general. It's like what makes craft beer so special. It's not just the beer itself; it's the people that
It's the
come
sharing.
together around it. And
Togetherness.
so coming together around a craft beer and a bottle share is a pretty special thing. I've been doing them for several years now, and always really enjoyed it. But one of the things that was the original catalyst for it is the fact that I'm buying all these big bottles of beer, these big kind of bomber bottles of beer that are upwards of 10, 12, 15% alcohol.
Right.
And I can't drink them by myself. And so you want to save those beers so that you can share them with other people. And then also some of these beers that you get that you save, you trade for, you definitely don't want to drink the whole thing by yourself. You want to share it with people that can really appreciate it.
So who brings what?
So everybody just brings what they want, what they feel like bringing, what they're itching to open up. And so the cool thing about these bottle shares is that you get such a wide variety of styles across the spectrum. I'm looking at the counter right now with the empty bottles, and I see a barrel aged Belgian quad. I see a triple IPA. I see Funky Buddha's strawberry shortcake wheat wine. I see a sour. I see another sour. I see
Barley wine.
a barley wine. I see Dogfish Head's Worldwide Stout, which is this big stout from them, 18.5% barley wine. Lindley Park from Old Hickory. I mean, you see this wide spectrum of styles, and that's what makes these things fun too. Is that you get to drink and try a lot of styles that you might not necessarily even be familiar with, and drink from brewers that you might not have ever had a opportunity to try. So, like tonight was the first night that some folks have ever had Funky Buddha, for instance, which is out of Florida, and they're one of my favorite breweries. But it's just cool to introduce people to new breweries that people maybe aren't familiar with. Karbach is on the counter. They're a brewery that not a lot of people know about, but it's just cool the diversity and the variety that you see at these bottle shares. And again, the joy of it is that you drink what you want, you let pass what you want, but you can try different styles, different breweries, hear the stories behind those beers from the people that bring them. And it's just a really cool way to kind of gather around the craft of craft beer.
Right. It's interesting because a lot of these bottles are actually, when you're in the bottle shop, fairly expensive. Like some of them are $10 to $20, and you would not buy all 15 or 20 of them. You'd go broke pretty quickly if you did that on the regular. But here, you just have to bring one or two of those, and then you show up and 10 other people are here, and there's all these beers that you didn't buy or wouldn't buy or couldn't buy or didn't know of, and you wind up getting a chance to sample a lot of things at what is a very reasonable,
entry
personal
fee.
cost, but also, it's even better when you're drinking it with someone else, or someone who enjoys it, or even someone who dislikes it. There were a couple that didn't go down very well, and you had a colorful conversation with that person about whether or not. So you were challenged. You're like, am I gonna like it? I don't know.
Yeah.
So you get into it, and you're like, well, you can make your own decision, but it's nice to be challenged, but it's also nice to find people who are interested in sharing and want to share and tell stories, like you said, which I think is a really, really great point.
I'll never forget the very first share that I went to. I just kind of stumbled in upon. I didn't even know that it was what a share was, but I went into a local area craft beer store here locally, and the owner was like, yeah, so-and-so just got back from Chicago, and they brought some beers back from this brewery up there called Three Floyds, and we're just going to drink some of these beers. And he opened up some Three Floyds Zombie Dust and some other interesting Three Floyds beers. And then while we were standing there, he said, well, I happen to have this 3-year vertical of this beer Hunapoo from Cigar City, and he's like, let's open up that. And so before I knew it, I had stumbled into this bottle share that I didn't even know what a bottle share was, but here was these guys sharing these beers that I had basically lusted after and thought, holy cow, like I'd love to be able to drink these beers one day.
Right.
Beers like Zombie Dust and Pliny the Elder and Heady Topper. And here they were opening these very beers for me for free.
It's nice that some people travel and you're not traveling, so you get a chance. All these beers are not available in your local market.
Yeah, exactly.
You're more willing to spend a little more or break out that rare beer that you don't want to touch when you're alone home.
Yeah, that's very true. And the other thing too is that like a lot of these beers, you really want to wait and share them with other people because again, you know how special they are, and you don't want to take up all that by yourself. I have beers that there's no way. I mean, I could drink by myself, but there's no way I would because I'd feel like a real a-hole. You know, I'd be like, God, man, look at me drinking this awesome beer that you wish you could have. You know.
I don't know. There's a couple that I do like to keep to myself.
Well, I mean, that's because you're a selfish jerk, but I mean.
Oh, here we go. No, it's sometimes you savor, and it's really nice to savor and sit back and say,
Hey, I earned this.
consume it. But you wouldn't do it watching a football game or a movie. Like you would do it at a table, conscious of it, with
exactly.
some nice cheese, some nice sausage, maybe a
Enjoy
friend or
it.
two, and they're also enjoying a bottle. Like my brother Tim, who spoke just a moment ago, and next time he'll do it, he'll get a little closer to the microphone.
Yeah.
You know, we enjoy beers sometimes, and now we live in the same house, so it's pretty easy to do that. But we'll have like two things, and sometimes you share it, and sometimes we don't. Just take notes, or we both have one of the same. We did that with that. That big ass Citra, whatever that was?
Citra Ass Down.
Citra Ass Down, which was really good, right? So there's some things where you just get a few bottles of it, and you sit down, and you just want to spin it in the glass, and you want to sip it, you want to think about it, you want to breathe it, you want to exhale it, and you want to consume thoughtfully sometimes. Sometimes I just want to consume thoughtfully. Yeah, there's filler beer, and we've mentioned that before, where, if your intention is to have 3 or 4 beers that night, you don't want to have all great beers sometimes. Sometimes you want to start with a great beer and end with a great beer, and sometimes you want to put one in the middle.
Yep.
But your cellar is particularly amazing. I'm looking at it. There's a lot of Last Snow.
Yeah, but I mean, there's
You got all of the Jesus.
I have
all the
I have
Evil
a
Twin
4-year
Jesus.
vertical of Even More Jesus from Evil Twin. I have a 4-year vertical of Firestone's Velvet Merkin, which is their oatmeal stout. It's going all the way back to 2013. And a lot of these beers have they will sit here for at least a year before I drink them. And the reason is primarily because, again, I don't want to drink these beers by myself, or I can't drink them by myself. I want to share them with friends.
But that's kind of what I'm referring to, is that, you bring something to a bottle share that you don't want to drink all alone or by yourself. You want to share with people and enjoy it socially. And some of the bottles that were brought tonight are a year old. Some of them are 3 or 4 years old. And some of them cellared really well. Some of them maybe were at the end of the legitimate cellaring time frame.
Yep.
But that's kind of where I was going. Was like you're talking about keeping things for a little while and sitting on them, and then eventually kind of sharing them with other people. And an event like this, it's such a nice event because it's just so many nice people, and it's so many different beverages that you can't or wouldn't buy all at one time. Right, it's just gets you try a lot of flavors. How long does one of these things typically last?
Anywhere from 2 to 5 hours, depending on the size.
Pretty quick, an afternoon event.
Yeah, absolutely. And depends on how many people.
There's still some people who are yelling in the background.
If you have 2 to 4 people, you're not going 5 hours.
No, you're not.
You're asleep by then.
You'd be upside down.
I mean,
yeah,
but
bad idea.
it depends on how many bottles that you have and how many people that you have.
And how do you get these together? Now you have several friends who enjoy beer, so it's pretty easy for you to just draw up a social media ping.
Yeah, I have a lot of friends that are craft beer friends, and so it's relatively easy to get one
Facebook,
of these set
Instagram,
up.
or would you set up a meetup?
Yeah, Facebook, email, any number of ways. I do a lot of themed shares. So we mentioned that I have a huge collection of Evil Twin stuff, like the Jesus collection, the Even More Jesus, Double Barrel Jesus, Maple Jesus, Un Mas Cafe, Chili Pepper Jesus. So I'm putting together a share now with just those beers. I have a huge collection of Prairie's beers, so I'm going to put together a big share around Prairie's beers, around their stouts, the bombs, the noirs. I do a lot of theme shares like Sour Fests and Stout Fests. And Coffee Stout Fests, where, everyone just brings a coffee stout.
That's on top of the Craft Beer 101 events.
That's on top of the Craft Beer 101 events that I'm doing.
And Jason, I will be happy to bring a 4 or 5 year of Silent Night, the Mother Earth Coffee Stout.
Yeah, that's actually really good. The Mother Earth Silent Night is actually a great beer from them. They're a brewery out of North Carolina. They use counterculture coffee in that stout. So it's actually a really good stout that comes out around this time of year every year. So thank you.
Make it a 6-year vertical.
Yeah, thank you, Sean.
A 6-year vertical.
Yeah, 6-year vertical.
That's
So-
Sean. He's in the Steelers.
Yeah,
jersey.
exactly. So thanks, Sean. Sean's going to be providing the next beverages for the next
You can just bring
podcast.
all the beer for the next the next show.
So yeah, they're relatively easy to do. One of the coolest things that I think about that I like about bottle shares though is we mentioned the fact that the entry fee is pretty low. No one really judges you based on what you bring. So if you're a first time person into a bottle share, it can be very kind of
First time, or just bring what you have.
Yeah, that's exactly
doesn't
right.
matter
It
if-
doesn't really matter what you bring. You can be a little bit, like,
I mean, if
oh
you're
my
gonna bring a
gosh.
New Belgium or a Dogfish Head or something that's readily available, nobody's gonna say, "Oh, that person."
That's
like,
exactly
I never
right.
had that thought one time at these.
I've invited several people, and they're like, I don't know that I can bring it. I don't know that I have anything that I can bring. And I'm just like, bring whatever
It's
you
your first
want,
one.
man.
You don't even bring anything. Just
I've
come and
drank-
enjoy, and now you know what to look for next time you go to
That's
bottle shop. You're
exactly
like,
right.
Now I know to go to this table or that table. And get
People
this
care
thing.
more about the fact that you're there, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely. And sharing
need,
and talking.
I need extra people around the table to drink more of this beer. That's just the reality. And so whatever you want to bring it.
Well,
So
there's still some left. Sometimes I'm shocked at how slow some of them get consumed.
yeah, exactly. And, like I said, some of that has to do with the fact that people are drinking such small amounts of it. Relatively speaking, most of us have to drive home, and we're very, very careful about that. And that's the other thing, too, is that people are very, very responsible usually and very careful about bottle shares in terms of, like, making sure that they line up rides and Uber and or provide rides and or not drink enough. And
Just
so
go easy.
you just be very, very careful about it. So it's not this, like, crazy frat boy kind of, drunk fest. It's a very, like, meticulously, careful kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not about consuming for the sake of consuming. I mean, you want to learn more about some of the things that you've never had before, and you want to kind of go down that adventure path, to say.
Yep.
But I find that I learn a lot about what I like and don't like in more detail every time I do one of these events, because there wind up being such a variety of bottles that they wind up being such a variety of bottles that you're not sure you've had them all before. Most cases you haven't.
Yep.
So while it's adventurous, you learn more about what you feel about, say, something like a Brett or different things that are brought by people who, whether or not they like them, maybe they're just passing their garbage off, or maybe they're sharing something I think is amazing and they want to show off. Like it runs both ends of the spectrum.
Yep, that's right.
So what happens is you wind up trying things you wouldn't normally try. Like I tried several bottles tonight I just wouldn't buy, right? Like Bread-O-Matic or the strawberry shortcake from Funky Buddha. Like I would not walk out of the store with that bottle.
Yep.
But I'm here and it's open,
That's
and I
right.
only have to have an ounce or two, so I'm just gonna pour a sip into the glass and give it a go and try.
Yeah.
And if I like it, I'll pour another sip in. If I don't, I'll move on.
Exactly.
Which is really fantastic.
And you know what? Again, the price
More
of
people
admission
are-
is relatively cheap for you to be able to try different styles and to be able to do that. And that's if you're new to craft beer, a bottle share is a great place for you to help figure out what it is that you like and don't like.
Yeah, it really
Ever heard
is.
of a barley wine? Sure, I've heard of it, but I've never tried it. You go to a bottle share, chances are you're going to get to try it.
I have not. I was fearful of barley wines even just a couple years ago. Not really sure what I was getting into. It just seemed like something sweet and rich.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not the biggest wine drinker, especially on the sweet side of the spectrum. And I don't think I've had one I didn't enjoy.
Yeah, I'm not a huge barley wine fan,
like
but that's the joy of
I like
these
'em.
of
They're
these bottle
rich,
shares is that you're able to figure
sour,
out what styles
sweet.
you like and what you don't like.
Seems like everybody's leaving.
Yeah.
Everybody's kissing your puppy.
Well, they've been here since
Party's over.
So they've been here for 5.5 hours.
Well, I guess if the party's over, the podcast is almost over.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Do you want an after party?
Yeah, we can do that. We can
can
absolutely do
We
that.
can after party.
So, and it
Dutch washer.
There was also the Nut Squasher, which is not the best beer name ever.
Yeah,
What's the brewery name on the Nut Squasher over there?
The Nut Squasher, the Bourbon Barrel Aged Autumn Ale.
Bourbon Barrel Aged Autumn Ale. Who brews it?
The Hourglass Brewery.
The Hourglass Brewery. Where are they from?
They would be from Longwood, Florida.
Longwood,
Which is just
Florida.
outside Orlando, which is home to Disney. But this beer is not.
I think people know that outside of Disney, Orlando. But
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think I tried that one.
You don't need to try this one. This is not a very good beer.
Oh,
It was
hopefully they don't listen. They don't find our show just by randomly searching beer in iTunes.
They are from Longwood, and this is not a good beer.
Yeah, there you go.
There it is.
Yeah.
Class. Leave it to a Steelers fan.
Yep. So we'll go over a couple of things. We'll go over a couple of things before we end and do some after talk. So what do you need to host a bottle share? What do you need? How do you do it? And then what does that look like? And how can you find them? And then we will end up. So what do you need for a bottle share? You need a space for as many people as you're going to invite.
Usually someone's house is the
Yep.
best.
Usually someone's house is the best. You need access to water and or drinks, other drinks other than beer, because a lot of people drink beer and then water and then beer and then water. Recommend that you have easy transportation to and from where you're going, right? And so you need that. And then how can you find bottle shares?
Tim, beer.
Honestly, check your local area Reddit page for craft beer groups in your
Reddit's
area.
a good idea.
I know that in the Atlanta area, we have an Atlanta beer area Reddit, and they're usually a great place for finding out about shares and things. And they're probably a Reddit craft beer group in your area. So that would be one of the first places I would look for.
Might be a Facebook group too.
Might be a Facebook group too. So check social media for bottle shares in your area. And then the other thing is just go to beer events and hang around breweries and ask those folks, hey, do you know of any bottle shares that are happening around here?
I mean, honestly, you could just decide to host one and just have whatever friends, however deep they are or are not in craft beer, just bring some people together that want to consume beer and think about it and talk about it. And you'll find that if you do that on the regular, that I think the beer will get more interesting, the conversation gets more interesting, people bring other things, because it's like white elephant gift at the office. You always want to bring something that's like the newest, strangest, weirdest thing at whatever X dollar level cap there is, right? I think it's the same thing. It's like you want to bring something that's going to shock someone. I brought the Achschlinkerler Rausch beer, the Erbach, not the Marzen, so it's a little sweeter. Nobody likes the liquid bacon except for me, apparently, but I don't mind. And there are other things, too, that people are going to bring because, they, like we said earlier, they travel. So people bring bottles home when they travel sometimes. You don't have to be a big beer geek to do that. You just be like, wow, that was really good. I'm at a restaurant. And the next thing you know, you're at the gas station getting one and you just stick it in your bag.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, people do that.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I think these events are really eye-opening, and they're a lot of fun, and I'm really grateful that you hosted this.
Yeah, I'm glad that you were able to come. Like I said, seek these events out near you. If you can't find one, host one yourself.
Yeah, just host it.
Just like put together an event on Facebook and invite all of your friends that you know are into craft beer, and some that aren't into craft beer yet. Invite all those folks and tell them, hey, let's try a bunch of cool beers and bring a beer. And then remind them that it doesn't really matter what they bring, just to be there. More importantly, but the thing is, bottle shares are they're one of the catalysts and the biggest components of the craft beer industry. They're what's kind of helping it grow. There's what's helping it kind of thrive in this economy of macro beer. And so the health of those bottle shares and of these communities is actually really, really important to craft beer overall. And so I can't underemphasize, the value of these bottle shares enough. Again, I feel like
It's a bold statement. It's a bold statement.
it's incredibly important to craft beer because, again, we're increasing the awareness of some of these microbreweries 100-fold just by having these events. I would have never heard of Carbach or had a beer from Carbach had I not have come to this share tonight, and now I know about them. So the importance of bottle shares I can't be underemphasized. So definitely, like I said, seek them out. If you can't find them, create one yourself, and let us know if you have any questions by either commenting on our Facebook page or tweeting
Instagram
to us,
page,
Instagramming.
the Twitter account.
Yep.
You can hit all of that.
Yep.
Do a share once a month.
Yep. That's right. That's Sean. He said do a share
Even
once a
if you're
month.
with people who are not familiar with craft beer, it's pretty easy to do something even with like gateway beers.
Yeah.
Just some base IPAs that are nationally distributed and some base stouts that are nationally distributed, and get people at least discussing, even if they don't like it, it doesn't matter. They're at least being adventurous.
Yep.
And being adventurous is the entire point.
Yep. That's right.
So,
it's
cool.
all about exploration.
Good talk.
Yeah. Likewise.
Good point. Very
Yeah.
bold point you made there.
Yes. Absolutely.
Very bold. Chinch bugs,
Yeah,
Pool,
exactly.
Pond
Yeah.
would be good for you.
Join us next month. Next month we're coming back with our regular format where we will dive into more
I'm
specifically.
gonna before and after,
Good.
but we can move on to after party because I'm curious about you had a lot of social media posts while you were traveling during the holidays around Jay Dizzle,
I did.
And I know how that goes because I've done it. I've been in the position where you've got a dog who's old and ailing, and it's time to kind of pull the proverbial trigger, right? Like, and make that decision, which I don't want to get emotional. I don't.
No,
I want
I
to bring
get-
you to a place where you
I
don't want
get
to be.
so emotional,
But
baby,
I've been there,
when I
and
think
I'm
of you.
about to be there within the next month or two. I think I've got a dog.
Just thinking about
I've got a
Vito. I love
I've got a pit who's about is big, 85-pound, gorgeous pit, and he's just the love of our lives, and he is in the final throes. So I get it. So
Yeah, a day before Christmas, we had to put down our.
and you were in Florida. You were traveling.
Was in
You're away from home.
Yep, Myrtle Beach at my in-laws, and we had to put down our 10-year-old Yorkie. It was incredibly difficult and still difficult. April and I were talking about it last night. Just incredibly difficult because when you don't have kids, your dog becomes your kid, and is incredibly difficult and still difficult even though we have a puppy now. It's incredibly difficult, and it definitely reminds you of the importance of relationships and of people and of making sure that you spend time on the things that mean the most. And so,
I mean, you spend 10 years letting your dog out every morning and every day after work and feeding it, and it sits in your lap all night while you're, pounding away on your laptop or watching a game or watching a movie. Like, they're always there, and they're always there for you. And dogs have such good spirits.
Yep.
Right? They're just there, and they're attentive, and they're interested, and
their love is unconditional.
Yeah,
it doesn't really rely on you for, it doesn't rely on you to have gotten them something for Christmas or remembered their birthday.
Right. So I felt really detached because there were so many social media posts, and we were texting back and forth a couple times, and I was just like, I had a lot of feels about knowing what that's like and wondering how hard it is to do while you're traveling. So I just wanted to let you know that I had the feels, and it was, I just wanted to empathize.
Yeah, well, I
That was all.
appreciate that.
So
It's kind of crazy being as vulnerable as I was around that time, but I just I needed to get it out.
you do such a good job of sharing it though on social media.
Man,
You're open in a way most people are not. I don't think you realize that. And I've seen you post, like, I know most people are not this open, or most people are more open than me. I don't always share, and I'm just like, are you sure? Because you share a lot of things.
yeah, I know I do.
Which is
maybe too
wonderful,
much.
by the way. No, I love it.
But I think that for me, the fact that I was kind of going through something that was extremely difficult at the most joyous, happiest time of the year was just this stark contrast that I felt like I needed to talk through in my head and out into public and let people know that just to remember that, even though Christmas is a joyous time for most people, it's not always a joyous time for everyone. There's a lot of people going through even far worse things than I was. I'm thinking about a very good friend of mine who lost her husband about 6 months ago, and I can imagine that this was probably
It's the first
the
holiday
worst.
season without your loved one.
Exactly.
And you're like,
I
this
can
is
imagine
crazy.
that's way harder than what I was going
It's
through.
not a dog.
So it's probably, it's probably important for us to remember that perspective and to think about that. And so that was kind of more of my thought pattern, was like, hey, let's all think about the fact that, let's just everyone's not having an amazingly joyous time, but let's try to help people as we can and how we can, and show them love and that sort of thing, because you never know what people are going through at this time of the year.
It's about perspective and trying to conduct yourself with a certain amount of empathy, right?
Yep.
And understanding, being open, and but you're also medicated in that you have a new dog,
Yeah.
young Coop. Young Coop.
I was going to say
you know what we're gonna do? We're just gonna get another puppy. Hey, Cooper.
He's a giant pain in the butt, but he's not a giant pain in the butt because he's less than 2 pounds.
Completely
But
potty trained.
He's deep in the throes of potty training or a lack of potty training and behavioral, and he likes to pee and then 5 minutes later pee again.
It is hard to learn to not be in the living room.
Wow.
And I speak from experience.
Yeah,
It's hard.
It's hard. So he's
Poor guy.
he's
So cute though, and he's the size of a
It's-
sandwich.
that's
He's
what
the
I mean.
size of a $5 football.
It's incredibly hard to get mad at him because
Yeah, it
he's
is.
just so
He's so
freaking
cute.
cute. But
Look at him.
at the same time, it's a good analogy for life, right? Things happen, and you just got to move on, and you got to push forward and move on the best way you can, and figure out how best to move on for you, and then do it. That's the key thing, is like, do it.
Well, when a door closes, there are always other doors that open, right?
You know that well, right? You're starting a new
starting
job tomorrow.
New job,
after
so
after
A little
your
less
job.
solemn of a topic. Yeah, so 6 weeks of freelancing / unemployment, trying to figure out, like, it's hard to think about it. Like, it's a blessing to now. Not a blessing to be told you're about to be unemployed, right? When a startup that you work for says, hey, we're out of money, we're not going to pay you anymore, so we'll kind of understand if you don't want to come around. So you kind of assess where you're at. You say, hey, I think I might want to do this, I might want to do that. Like, it's like a blank canvas, which is like a blank Word document. It's the hardest one to fill.
Yeah.
Right? You're like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming. Like, I could do all these things. I could do so many things, and there's so many options. So you start narrowing them down based on feedback you get from the universe and LinkedIn. And then you're kind of like, okay, these things are shaking out of my network tree, and these things are shaking out of recruiters. And do you want to try and maybe make a go at starting your own thing? Like, all these different forces, right?
Yep.
And then ultimately, I took a job with a firm where I know a lot of people, and I know the owner, and it's safe, but it's also really adventurous because they're a pretty progressive firm. So I'm really excited about it. It's with Search Discovery, and they've turned a lot of what's interesting about them. Yeah, they're a digital / search marketer, which may seem like it's pretty dry, run of the mill. There are a lot of firms that do that, big and small. But what they have a habit, almost a culture of doing, is turning their processes and or their chafe, what breaks away, into like software.
Yeah.
And they've sold some of this software to really good companies like Adobe and stuff like that. So it's really amazing. Like, the culture there is really good. I'm really excited to get in and kind of like start a creative department and found something and inject process into an existing culture and series of processes inside of an organization that are mature. It's hard. It's really, really friggin' hard. But it's also really fun. It's fun to get slapped, to get punched in the face that many times, to get hammered and beat down, and get small wins. And it's something I've done before, so I feel
It's like a resetting.
It's kind of a reset. It's
Yeah.
fun because I've done this kind of job in this exact role before, where you got to like found a department of a new service offering inside of a firm, and it's extremely difficult. Like I said, they've got culture. They've got processes and all these things in place. So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if you could tell. Kind of.
Yeah, that's
My
awesome,
tone
man.
kind of sold that.
I am extremely happy for you.
So,
to
thanks,
have
buddy.
found something that
buddy.
you feel like you're going to be really good
Thanks
at.
a lot. So, what's up? What's up with you in the coming month? You know, we're gonna finish out January here.
Yep, we're going to
Anything
finish out
else new?
January. We're going to start brewing more beer. I'm sitting right next to
You did 2 batches yesterday.
I did 2 batches
That is
yesterday.
an insane undertaking.
Didn't feel insane when I started. Felt insane at 11:30 midnight when I got finished. But I'm looking at a coffee, cacao, coconut porter. And
Have
a
you
Belgian
seen
triple.
the movement inside of that triple?
The triple's going
It's
crazy.
insane. It's going
It's alive.
nuts.
It's turning like
It looks like it's boiling, and
Yeah,
it's not
literally.
on heat. Like it literally looks like it's boiling.
It's going crazy.
It's insane.
So yeah, I'm gonna start now that I got my stuff out again. I'm gonna start brewing some more beer and learning more about brewing, which is something that I'm gonna do in the next month. And
Brewing's
then
always fun.
I'm gonna keep trying to house train this puppy, and honestly try to reset myself, refocus myself. 2016, I know that it was very apropos to
Apropos?
Yeah, apropos to it was to talk about how much you hated 2016, but I actually did hate 2016.
I think you overreached with the wording. It just was trending.
It was very trendy to say you hated 2016, but I'll say that I hated 2016 with all of my heart almost. And so for me, so 2017 is a reset. It basically is like me just saying, okay, that was really bad, but 2017 is a new year, so I'm hopeful and I'm optimistic. And this month I'm going to spend just like resetting and making sure that I'm headed in the right direction.
Did you make
And,
resolutions?
I did not make resolutions.
Bye, Jason. Love you. You're the best. You
Bye.
also. Goodbye. Love you. Good to meet you.
Bye.
Yes, have fun with your little project. Goodbye. Love y'all. No?
And the final guests
Bye.
hit the door from the bottle share.
Yes, exactly.
Hopefully that dude's not driving, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Dude,
So
that is awesome.
so January I'm going to spend the month resetting and getting back to basics and making sure that I'm headed in the right direction professionally and personally, and taking care of my wife and my puppy and brewing more beer. And yeah, that's what I'm going to do. What about you? Get settled into your new role?
Yeah, I want to get settled into the new job, kind of figure that out. And I know that's always a big undertaking. There's always extra work involved in that, like mentally beyond the tasks when you start with a new firm. But I don't know. I had 2016 may have been bumpy, but I actually had a pretty good year. Like the resolutions I set out, you know, to work on last January, they stuck. They stuck very well. So I made new ones, and I've even gone further and made like a massive series of goals of things that I want to produce or perform with in 2017. It's extremely aggressive. I'm really excited to work on all that stuff. There's just a lot of things I want to kind of make. Like there are a lot of things I'm curious about how they're made. And in 2017,
Like
I'm
bowling
gonna
balls?
like make. No, I know those are made in India by children with needles, like with their toes. They like sew those with their toes with
Man,
needles.
that's amazing.
That's how that works. That's how soccer balls and volleyballs get made. And I don't want to there's some documentaries on that. You should probably look that up.
Doing it now.
Yeah, they're very sad. No, I've got like some products that I want to make that I can sell as like passive income, like online things we can like download, different classes and courses, presentation stuff and creative director stuff. But also like I want to learn more about like deep YouTube channel promotion and growth. And I've got rental property I want to sell. I just got some big goals that will really affect my family in a big way in 2017. I'm looking really forward to those, like, really excited.
Great.
Yeah, it's big. I don't know. It's daunting.
It's hugely.
Huge.
Bigly.
Bigly.
Yeah.
You don't know. I have all the best biglies. Ask anyone.
Good.
My Bigleys are.
I can see
there's
the
no
size
problem.
of your hands. I'm not
There's no
questioning it at
problem
all.
with my Bigleys.
These are bigger than mine.
Daggum, we just devolved into Trump jokes.
Yeah.
And there could be Trump fans. That cherry, vanilla.
The Brewery Tarot Tart of Darkness Cherry and Vanilla is one of the best beers that came out in 2016. I'm just,
my gosh, it is
I'm just
so
throwing it down
good.
right now.
It's so
There
good.
was
Just
the,
telling you.
The last snow.
I just took a last drag of that,
Last
and it was
snow.
unbelievable.
Even the Furies wept.
Yep.
Oh, Fury's Wept from
Orpheus.
Yeah.
Orpheus. So good.
Those are the top 3 beers for the night for me.
Yep.
Amazing. All 3 of them are so good. I wouldn't normally go for a sour that's that sour, but like I'm
Thanks, Jason.
in a game
Yeah, thank you.
lately, so like going beyond that.
I'm gonna kill it. As always, thank you for listening. You can find us both all over the social medias. Jason on Instagram at Domini and Vibes, and on Twitter at Jason Domini. Both on Untapped. You can search our names in there. We also have an email alias now, so sip@lastbeershow.com, which will come in very handy with what I'm about to tell you. The announcement that I mentioned earlier is that we're working on lining up a few guests. No big deal, but if there is someone you think would contribute to an interesting beer conversation, hit us on Twitter, like I said, at The Last Beer Show, or email us sip@lastbeershow.com. Peace.